big, smaller, smallest. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews, and here I am with the Moondrop Quarks. And for those of you who don't know, the price of these comes in at around $13. Yes, I said $13. We are in the ultra budget realm today, so let's see how they perform. Okay, let's have a look at these shells now, and you can see they're really tiny, but they also look really cool. They're transparent plastic. You can see all the wiring and the driver enclosure in there. So in terms of the shape, it's very simple bullet shape type capsule. Not much to say really, except they're really small. The build quality feels good. You can see there that the Quarks has fixed cables, so unfortunately you can't change the cables out. But you know, for a $13 earphone, you can't really expect to get a detachable cable. Speaking of the cable, yeah, you know, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's got kinks in it. It's got a bit of memory to it, but it feels okay. It does have some pretty significant microphonics, but overall it's what you might expect. Let's get into the sound. So how does the Quark sound? Yeah, well, it's a fairly neutral sound signature. In fact, the Quarks sound very similar to the Moondrop SSR, the spaceship reference. Now that one is like $39 or 30 something dollars, I believe. I'm not sure. I'll put up the price of the SSR here. But yes, this is a $13 IM. Same, very similar sound signature to the SSR, which means neutral. It's got a fairly light bass, but the quality of the bass is pretty good. In fact, it sounds a lot like a balanced armature bass. So the bass extension is reasonable, it's pretty good. And by the way, the Quarks has a 6mm dynamic driver. So the bass extension is pretty good. You do get the tone for sub bass notes, but you don't get any, well, you get a little bit of a rumble, but nothing significant. So these are really nowhere near a bass head IM, and even a lot of regular listeners will probably find the bass quite light on these. So just keep that in mind. So nothing really in the way of sub bass rumble. The bass kind of lacks authority, especially down really low. The mid bass, on the other hand, it's kind of punchy. It's a very clean, very tight and fast bass, which is great for several reasons. I mean, first of all, is the definition in the bass, but secondly, you don't get any bleeding into the mid range. So it helps to create the overall sort of very clean, neutral sound that you get. But the mid bass is okay. I would like, still personally, I would like a bit more presence in the mid and upper bass, but it is what it is. Now, in terms of the mid range, the Quarks has got a really nice mid range, fantastic. It's got a sort of a neutral note size throughout, but there's just enough warmth in there for it to sound natural. It's a really natural sounding sort of tone throughout the mid range. Vocals sound really nice. They're very articulate, very clear. The mid-range clarity is quite good. It's not one of those ultra clear sounds, but that's generally a little bit good if it's not too ultra clear, because you get up into that crazy clarity range and suddenly the all sense of naturalness is gone. But the Quarks sound very natural. I might even say quite accurate in terms of vocal density and instruments, and the tone throughout the mid-range sounds really good. The instrument separation is fairly impressive, in part aided by the lightness and the tightness of the bass. Like I said, it doesn't bleed into the mid-range, so it can sort of get a little bit slowed down or congested in very busy segments, particularly if there's a lot of upper mid-range action, because the upper mid-range, I'll show you the graph here, the upper mid-range has got that large peak at about 3 kilohertz, Now that does provide some clarity and definition and a little bit of vocal presence. It can get sometimes a little bit edgy. I wouldn't say shouty. Well, if you turn up the volume, it can get a little bit shouty, but for the most part, I didn't have any issues with that peak. But overall, a very nice, a very natural and well done mid-range. Finally, in terms of the treble, you get what I would call a classic Moondrop treble, which is one that is crisp and clear, emphasis on the lower mid-range and then falling off fairly quickly after about probably 8 or 9 kilohertz, something like that. But it's not a bright treble. The brightness comes from that upper mid-range peak, and the sort of low quantity of bass gives it its bright signature. But the treble itself is not bright, it's not harsh, there's no sibilance, and it doesn't sound brittle. In fact, the treble density sounds pretty good, but yeah, you do have that upper treble roll off, so it is still a fairly airy sounding treble. The extension is reasonable, but it's not going to give you any sparkle. It's not going to give you any real energy up there. But it works well in conjunction with the mid-range and the treble tuning. I mean, the bass, the overall tuning just works. It's a fairly balanced overall tuning. And I think Moondrop have done a pretty good job here. Like, for example, if I have a lot of people asking me about, how is the KZ ZST X Pro or the KZ ZSN Pro, are they any good for content creation, like mixing and making music and whatnot? They want to use them as studio monitors. Well, I'll tell you right now, if you're on a real tight budget and you're looking for a neutral sound, this is your boy right here. You probably want to get yourself a pair of Quarks for that kind of work, because it is very neutral, it is fairly accurate. So I'm going to wrap it up there, just a real quick one today. That is the Moondrop Quarks. Yeah, like I said, if you're on a budget, you're not going to do much better than this. If you're looking for that kind of audiophile tuning, if you're looking for a general V-shaped sound with a nice punchy bass and a nice lively treble, the Quarks won't give you that. But if you're looking for something more linear, something slightly more, can I say reference for this price range? If you're looking for something that's kind of leans toward reference, then yeah, give these a go. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, ParFam audiophile style. And if you are new to this channel and you want to see more earphone, headphone, DAC, DAP reviews, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I'll see you later.